Welcome back. This is the first session for you people. I took time preparing for the session because I was dealing with the classes for other sections. So for today, we will start off with the topics that we have not covered so far, which is the one on actually moment of inertia. Under moment of inertia, we will be looking at the following topics: moment of inertia as compared to the mass. Then we develop the idea of what is moment of inertia. Then we go to the concept of what you call as radius of gyration, and then we look at moment of inertia, define the moment of inertia, look for the dimensions of moment of inertia and also the units, and then we'll go on to the theorems on moments of inertia, that is the parallel axis and perpendicular axis theorems. So I'm sharing the screen with you here. So this is the screen or the notes that I'll be using to share this lesson. This is the detail of the syllabus. So we are required to look at the motion of rigid bodies, kinetic energy of rotation, moment of inertia of a body, theorem on and theorem. Let us say theorem on the theorems, because there are two theorems on the moment of inertia, the parallel and the perpendicular axis theorems with proof only in two-dimensional cases. Calculation of moment of inertia of a disk, annular ring, solid sphere and a rectangular bar. Then we look at conservation of angular momentum and give some illustrations. This is roughly the plan for today. We will define some fundamental properties, some fundamental ideas, and then we'll go on to discussing the theorem on moments. Now, what is this moment of inertia? We know that the mass of a body can be taken as a measure of its inertia, right? What is inertia, by the way? Inertia is the ability of a body or the property of a body by virtue of which it opposes any change in its state of motion, according to Newton's first law. So, if a body is at rest, continues to be at rest. If a body is moving uniformly along a straight line, it continues to move with the same velocity unless acted upon by any other force. This ability of a body to retain its state of motion is called as inertia. Now, if you consider a body to be at rest, then to make the body move, you have to apply a force, you have to push it, and we know by experience that more force is required to push a body which is heavier. In other words, a heavier body is a heavier mass, therefore we can say mass is a measure of the inertia of the body. Inertia for what? Inertia for motion along a straight line, which you call as the translatory motion. You go from one point to the other, that is called as translatory motion. Similarly, if a body is not allowed to move, but it is allowed to rotate about an axis, then what happens is the body, unless a force acts on it, refuses to rotate. In other words, it tries to resist any change in its state of rotational motion as well. So this physical quantity that captures the inertia of a body for rotational motion is called as moment of inertia. This is physically the concept. Moment of inertia is a measure of the inertia of a body for rotation. Of course, in terms of mathematics, in terms of an equation, we can see what moment of inertia actually turns out to be. So we can start off with a simple example, or we can start looking at what is moment of inertia in terms of certain other concepts. As we go along, we will also get to the energy of rotation. Now, if a body is moving with a velocity v along a straight line, its kinetic energy is given by half mv square. Now, in the case of a body that is rotating, what happens is, it is not just the mass that matters, it is the mass distribution around the axis of rotation that is what matters. If you consider a body, as I have shown here in the picture, you know, xy I have taken as the axis, the different points on the body, the different, I can treat the body to be made up of a large number of point masses, mass points, so to speak. No physical dimension, but mass like that. So if m1, m2, m3, etc., m4, etc., are mass particles situated at different points on the body, then from an axis xy, they are at different distances. So now what happens if the body rotates? The entire body rotates in a go. Therefore, what happens? The angular velocity becomes the same for all particles. But as you know, the angular velocity, angular displacement by time, theta by t, although that is same, the linear velocity of each particle is different. As you know, v is equal to r omega. Therefore, these mass points being at different positions from the axis have different products, mi ri square. So ಅದನ್ನ ನಾನು ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. What I have shown here is, if you want to calculate the total kinetic energy, and what we have to do, if m1, m2, m3, etc. are mass points at distances r1, r2, r3, etc., then the kinetic energy is I omega square. So what happens? Half m1 r1 omega square plus half m2 r2 omega square plus m3 r3 omega square plus mn rn omega square. So therefore sigma, half sigma mi ri omega square ಅಂತ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Where I, sigma mi ri ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಇದನ್ನ I can replace it by a constant I. This I is called as the moment of inertia of the body. So what is it that we have done? We have tried to calculate the total kinetic energy of the body. The body has been divided into different mass particles, mass points, m1, m2, m3, etc. There are distances r1, r2, r3, etc. from the axis of rotation. So as each particle rotates, as the body rotates, the angular velocity is same, but linear velocity is different. The kinetic energy, as you know, is given by I omega square. I have studied this in PU classes. So where are we now? Therefore, we have total kinetic energy is equal to half m1 r1 omega square plus m2 r2 omega square plus m3 r3 omega square, so on up to half mn rn omega square. This therefore can be written as half sigma mi ri omega square. This mi ri product, I call it as I. Therefore, I can write it as half I omega square. So ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ದಂಥ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್ಗೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. The total kinetic energy of the body is half I omega square. So if you assume that the entire mass of the body is concentrated at one point, let us say, if the entire mass of the body is assumed to be concentrated at one point, then what happens is, let us say, that point is at a distance k from the axis of rotation. Then I assume that this product mk square, which is the total kinetic energy of the body, is the same as the kinetic energy of the body earlier. So whatever the summation of the energies due to each one of these particles m1 m2 etc. ಏನು ಕೊಡುತ್ತೋ ನಮಗೆ ಸಮ್ ಅನ್ನ, ಅದೇ ಸಮ್ ಅನ್ನ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಎಂ ಕೆ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಅಂದುಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಕೆ ಹಿಯರ್ is called as the radius of gyration. So I omega square is equal to mk square ಅಥವಾ ಹಾಫ್ ಸಿಗ್ಮಾ ಇರಬೇಕಿತ್ತು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಬರೆಯೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಇರಲಿ, ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಹಾಫ್ ಸಿಗ್ಮಾ m1 r1 square omega square is equal to mk square. So what is k? K is the radius of gyration. And what is that radius of gyration? It is or radius of gyration if you want. It is the distance of the point at which you are considering the entire mass of the body to be concentrated into the perpendicular distance from the axis. And the k is the perpendicular distance from the axis of the point at which you are considering the entire mass to be concentrated. So ನೀವು ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಹಿಂದೆ ಮಾಡ್ದಂಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ವರ್ಕೌಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ k turns out to be square root of r1 square plus r2 square plus r3 square. This root applies to everything, although my symbol may not indicate that. It also applies to n, as I have mentioned specifically. So r1 square plus r2 square plus r3 square up to rn square by n. Now what does this tell you? This is telling you that the radius of gyration k is given by the square root of the mean square distances of the particles from the axis of rotation. So this is significance. What is k? K is the root mean square distance of all particles from the axis of rotation. So how do you calculate this? As you might remember, initial distance of the particle m1 from the axis is r1, m2 is r2, of the distance of m3 is r3. What you do? You square each one of these distances, add all of them. Last term, I think we can put a plus here. Let us remove that minus. So if n particles are there, then what do? We square the distance of each particle from the axis of rotation, add up, which gives you the sum of the squares of the individual distances of the individual particles from the axis of rotation. Then you take the mean, average, divided by the number of particles n. Then you apply the square root. You get the root mean square velocity. Sorry, root mean square distance, which you recognize as the radius of gyration. So if you then want to look at what is the dimension for moment of inertia, then obviously the moment of inertia will be mk square, m into k is the length, therefore mass into length squared or ml square. So if you then look at what are the units, you can simply say for mass you have kg, for distance squared you have meter square. So moment of inertia is expressed in kg meter square. So this is about the idea of moment of inertia. Moment of inertia is physically equal to, or physically means that it is the opposition offered by a body to rotational motion. In other words, it is a measure of the inertia of a body for rotational motion. And from the equation, energy is equal to half I omega square. You can say I is equal to 2 times kinetic energy by omega. So I total energy E is equal to half I omega square. So 2E is equal to I omega square. From that, you can reduce a definition for omega in terms of mathematics. But the physical idea is more important. So we say, if I ask you what is moment of inertia, then you simply say it is a measure of the inertia of a body for rotational motion. Then we come then to the theorems on moments of inertia, the parallel and the perpendicular axis theorems. Now, what are these theorems stating? For example, if you start off with the perpendicular axis theorem, the perpendicular axis theorem states that the moment of inertia of a plane lamina about an axis perpendicular to the plane of the lamina is equal to the sum of the moments of inertia of the lamina about the two axes at right angles to each other in its own plane, intersecting each other at a point where the perpendicular passes through it. So, ಒಂದು ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ನೀವು ಲ್ಯಾಮಿನಾ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಲ್ಯಾಮಿನಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಶೀಟ್ practically having no thickness. You are worried only about the area. If such a plane lamina if you take, then you can have the axis perpendicular to the plane. Then because you have the xy dimensions, you have a axis passing through y axis. ನೀವು ಒಂದು imagine ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ axis ಒಂದನ್ನ passing through the center ತರ, then what happens? To the center ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. Then what happens? If you then calculate the moments of inertia about x and y, then it is equal to the moment of inertia about an axis parallel to the passing through the z axis ಅನ್ನೋ ತರ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೇನಪ್ಪ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಡಿಡ್ ಯು ಡು? ಯು ಟುಕ್ ಅ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ or a rectangular disc. You have suspended it perpendicular to axis of the plane. You have found the moment of inertia. Then you have made, you have suspended it to an axis parallel to length, then an axis parallel to the breadth. You have found that if you call these moments of inertia as Ix and Iy, it turns out that Ix plus Iy is equal to Iz. So, illen madidívi. Let Ix and Iy be the moments of inertia about two axes perpendicular to each other in a plane, in the plane of the lamina. Then the moment of inertia I could have called it Iz also. I think I'll call it as Iz. ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ Iz is equal to Ix plus Iy ಅಂತ ಬರೀತೀವಲ್ಲ. So, the moment of inertia Iz about the point of intersection perpendicular to the plane is given by Ix plus Iy. So, proof is part of the syllabus. Therefore, what we do is we consider a lamina. I have set up the axis. This is the XY plane. Then we have a particle, typically particle of mass m1 at a point P at a distance x1 from the y-axis, at a distance y1 from the x-axis. I hope you know this, because the distance of a point from the y-axis represents its x-coordinate. Distance of the point from the x-axis represents its y-coordinate. So, if P is a point at a distance r from the origin, then distance from x is the y-coordinate y1, distance from y-coordinate is the x1. So, and obviously x1 square plus y1 square is equal to r1 square. So, what I have taken here is only a single mass particle, single mass particle of mass m1. So, then what is it that we have done? The moment of inertia of this particle of mass m1 from the x-axis, if you calculate, it is given by mass m1 into distance from the x-axis, which is the y1. So m1 y1 square. Similarly, about the y-axis, the moment of inertia is mass m1 into distance from the y-axis. So it is m1 m1 x1 square. Now, if you divide the entire lamina into different particles of mass m1, m2, m3, so on up to mn, if their distances from the origin are r1, r2, r3, etc., up to rn, and if their distances from the x and y axis are respectively y1, y2, y3 up to yn, x1, x2, x3 up to xn, then we can write the moment of inertia of these particles about the x-axis as m1 y1 square plus m2 y2 square plus m3 y3 square and so on up to mn yn square. So this can be written as sigma m y square. Other rite, if you want to look at the moment of inertia about the y-axis, then it is m1 x1 square plus m2 x2 square plus m3 x3 square, so on up to mn xn square, which can be recognized as sigma m x square. So therefore, if there is an axis perpendicular to these two, the moment of inertia about that axis, if I call it as iz, alva, yeah, iz, then that iz is equal to m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square plus m3 r3 square up to mn rn square. But what is it that I can do with this? I can simply write r1 as x1 plus y1. Therefore, first if I do, instead of looking at straight away this equation 3, if I split the above, if I add these above two equations to give me this term, m1 x1 square plus plus y1 square, m2 into x2 square plus y2 square plus m3 into x3 square plus y3 square, so on, plus mn into xn square plus yn square. Then what happens? m1 xi square, summation of all this represents ix. The summation of the m1 y1 terms represents iy. Therefore, I can say iz is equal to ix plus iy. So this is about the perpendicular axis theorem. What does it say? It says that if there is a plane lamina and you have the moments of inertia taken along any two axes that are perpendicular to each other and intersect at a point, then if you have an axis perpendicular to the plane of the lamina passing through that point, then the moment of inertia about a point passing perpendicular to the plane will be equal to the moments of inertia about the other two axes. If you call the parallel axis as x and y and the perpendicular axis as z, then you have the equation ix plus iy is equal to iz. So with this we can go on to the parallel axis theorem. Parallel axis theorem ಏನು ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ? The parallel axis theorem states that the moment of inertia of a body about any axis is equal to the sum of its moment of inertia about a parallel axis passing through its center of gravity and the product of its mass and square of the distance between the two axes. So, if I is the moment of inertia of a body about any axis, then it is equal to the moment of inertia Ig about a axis passing through its center of gravity plus mx square mh square ಏನಾದರೂ ಒಂದು ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ h ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸೊ Ig plus mh square will be I along the axis CD here. So how do we go about proving this? Let CD be an axis in the plane of the paper, because I have drawn the diagram on the paper, so it is in the plane of the paper. So CD is an axis in the plane of the paper. AB is a parallel axis CDAB parallel through the center of gravity of the body. Ille through center of gravity act ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. So what is center of gravity? You should tell me now. Find out. Come back if you can't. Okay. So moment of inertia of the body about CD and about AB passing through the center of gravity. We are now trying to see what is happening to this. So CD is an axis in the plane of the paper. AB is an axis parallel to CD passing through the center of gravity of the body. If h is the distance between the axis CD and the axis AB, and m is the mass of the body, I have taken a single particle m1, a mass element at a distance p from the axis, at a distance x1 rather, at a point p at a distance x1 from the axis AB. So the moment of inertia of this mass particle m1 about CD, if you want to talk about, it is then equal to m1 into this x1 plus h whole square. So mr square, so ಅಥವಾ mk square, so m1 into x1 plus h square. Expand the term, you get m1 into x1 square plus 2x1h plus h square. ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ? m1 into x1 squared plus 2x1h, correct alva, plus h square. So m1 x1 square plus 2 mx1 m1 x1 h plus m1 h square. So the moment of inertia of the body about CD ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ I, ಅದು ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಯ್ತು. ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆದರೆ, if the body can be considered as being made up of a large number of terms, m1, m2, m3, etc., then using the same logic as we have done earlier, the moment of inertia mi of the body about AB, about CD rather, is sigma mi xi square ಅಂತ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅಡಿಷನ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ 2 ಸಿಗ್ಮಾ mi xi h ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಸಿಗ್ಮಾ m1 h1 ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ h ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಅಂತ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. h is constant. So if Ig is the moment of inertia of the body about AB, an axis passing through G, then Ig is equal to m1 x1 square, right? Because particle is at a distance x1 from AB, so it is sigma mi xi square. So I therefore turns out to be equal to Ig plus ಈ 2m1 x1 h ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಸಿಗ್ಮಾ 2m1 x1 h, ಅದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಸಿಗ್ಮಾ m1 m2 m3 ಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿಸಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ m ಅಂತ ಮಾಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಸಿಗ್ಮಾ mi xi, sorry, that I can write it as mh squared, where m is the total mass of the body. Then this 2h sigma m1 x1 term remains. Now what happens to this sigma m1 x1 term? m1 x1 term ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಇದು moment of inertia about the axis AB ಅನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸುತ್ತೆ. And what is this moment of inertia AB? Moment of inertia AB is the moment about the center of gravity. If it's about the, what about the center of gravity? It is the point where the weight of the body acts, point through which the weight of the body acts, and the body will be stable about a point of its center of gravity. ಯಾವುದೇ ವಸ್ತುವಿನ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟಿ, ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಬಾಡಿ ತಗೊಂಡು ನೀವು ಅದರ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಆ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನು ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ ಸಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಬೀಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. Therefore, the body is balanced about the center of gravity. If a body is balanced about the center of gravity, what is the meaning? From any given axis, if the body consists of different mass points m1, m2, m3, etc. at distances x1, x2, x3, etc. from the axis, the sum of algebraic sum of the moments of all these points about the axis of rotation, which is the axis passing through the center of gravity, is 0. So sigma mixi vanishes because the body will be balanced about the axis of rotation. So it leaves us with I equal to Ig plus mh square. So what is m? The total mass of the body. H is the distance of the parallel axis passing through the center of gravity from the axis of rotation CD. So these two are the theorems of perpendicular axis and parallel axis. From the exam point of view, important. Usually one of the questions is asked. So please go through this again. Learn it. In the next classes, we will go for the calculations of moment of inertia under various situations for different bodies. What is that? We would like to therefore look at calculations of moments of inertia of a disk, annular ring, solid sphere, rectangular bar, etc. That one or two cases we can take up next time. Similarly, split the other two cases for the next session. Overall, probably because we are using ready-made notes and discussing the cases, approximately we should be done with this chapter in about 5 hours. I think it may ultimately come to that. So for today, this should be sufficient. Please go through again. I will post the recording also in your group. Please go through the recording. I'll split this record into 3 or 4 smaller pieces so that it's easy for you to record. If there are any issues, any doubts, you can please post a question in our group. For now, I will stop sharing. We'll close the session. Bye for now.